Well, it gave everybody a wonderful new label.
Everyone has the potential to give something back. Who are our future are given the chance they deserve.
Could Princess Diana have left behind a hidden message in her wedding dress? Her longtime designer has finally opened up after decades of silence. And what they revealed is heartbreaking. Some say it was her final wish. Watch till the end and hit that subscribe button for more royal secrets. Everyone remembers that moment. A young princess stepping out of the carriage in a dress unlike anything the world had ever seen. It shimmered under the morning light, wrapped in ivory silk, detailed lace, and a train so long it seemed to stretch into forever. Princess Diana's wedding gown wasn't just fashion. It was a statement, a dream, a symbol of everything people wanted to believe in: love, magic, and happily ever afters. Designed by David and Elizabeth Emanuel, the dress captured the imagination of millions. It was theatrical, dramatic, and unapologetically grand, just like the decade it was born into. From the exaggerated puff sleeves to the antique lace that had once belonged to Queen Mary, every detail spoke to tradition and innovation all at once. With a 25-foot train, it set records, and a new standard for what a royal wedding dress could be. But here's what most people never realized. While the cameras captured every inch of that historic walk down the aisle, they missed something. Something that was quietly tucked away. Something that would only come out years later. Because as breathtaking as the dress was, it had a secret. Behind the beauty of that gown was a level of craftsmanship that few truly understood. Months of designing, sketching, testing, and adjusting went into its creation. And not just for appearances. This wasn't just a dress meant to look good in a photo. It had to move, to breathe, to hold up under the weight of a day watched by nearly 1 billion people. The fabric? Carefully selected ivory silk taffeta. It was shaped into a silhouette that was both soft and dramatic. The lace? Antique Carrick macross, painstakingly hand-stitched onto the bodice and down the immense train. Over 10,000 tiny pearls and sequins were added by hand, each one carefully sewn to catch the light, not overwhelm it. Designers and seamstresses worked late nights, layering ruffles, adjusting hems, and reinforcing hidden seams with quiet precision. The train, that unforgettable sweeping trail, was so long that Diana had to rehearse walking in it multiple times. The dress had to be engineered to flow perfectly without tangling or dragging unevenly. Elizabeth Emanuel once explained that the dress was designed to look stunning from far away, knowing most people would only see it through a television screen. But up close, it was just as breathtaking. Shoes were embroidered to match. The veil was coordinated down to the last thread. Nothing was left to chance. But none of this was spoken about loudly at the time. Why? Because the focus wasn't supposed to be on the process. It was meant to be on the fairy tale. Still, the people behind the scenes carried their work with pride, quietly, until the time came when their voices could finally be heard. The moment Diana entered St. Paul's Cathedral in 1981, the world fell silent, then gasped. The dress wasn't just a hit, it became a sensation. Overnight, it transformed from fabric and thread into something else entirely, a moment in time. For many, that gown represented a perfect blend of royal tradition and youthful charm. Diana wasn't just stepping into a marriage. She was stepping into history, and her dress told that story without a single word. Over 750 million people watched as the young bride floated up the cathedral steps. The dress shimmered, floated, and dazzled. But it wasn't just the beauty, it was the emotion behind it. People believed in her. They saw grace, innocence, and a new beginning. And while the cameras captured every angle, what they didn't see, what no one saw, was what Diana had shared in private. Because even as the dress took on a life of its own in public, there was a part of the story that stayed hidden. For decades, Diana's dress didn't just leave an impression, it changed everything. It became a blueprint, a turning point in royal bridal fashion. Gone were the days of simple gowns and understated elegance. This was a new era, one that celebrated drama, romance, and bold choices. Designers from around the world took note. Vera Wang, Elie Saab, and countless others have acknowledged Diana's dress as a key influence. It wasn't just the scale, it was the emotion behind the design that made it unforgettable. It also changed how people viewed weddings altogether. Brides began to see themselves not just as participants in a ceremony, but as stars in their own story. And it wasn't just brides. Fashion critics started recognizing the gown as more than a dress. It was art, It was storytelling. It was a theater. Even today, fashion schools and museums still use it as a case study in design and cultural impact. But here's what's interesting. Even as the gown shaped trends and inspired artists, the designers kept something to themselves, something deeply personal, something they promised not to reveal, until now. If you speak to those who worked closely with Diana, you'll hear one thing again and again. She wasn't just graceful in public. She was warm, kind, and deeply thoughtful in private. Dress fittings with Diana weren't just about measurements and fabric choices. They were full of laughter, light conversations, and unexpected moments of connection. One designer described her as someone who lit up every room, even the quiet ones. She had a way of making people feel at ease, no matter the pressure outside. In the middle of such a huge event, the biggest wedding the world had ever seen, she brought calm, she brought care. And it was in that atmosphere during those moments no cameras captured that she shared something special, a hope, a request, not about style, not about headlines, but about what the dress might become, one day far beyond the ceremony. That moment stayed between Diana and her dressmakers, until recently. After years of keeping it private, Elizabeth Emanuel finally spoke up. In a quiet conversation, she shared something Diana had once asked, something the world had never heard before. According to Elizabeth, Diana had expressed a simple but powerful wish. She hoped the dress wouldn't just be worn once, locked away in a vault, and forgotten. She wanted it to live on, to be seen, to inspire. She allegedly said that maybe, just maybe, one day the gown could help people understand the beauty of tradition, the magic of craftsmanship, and the importance of remembering. At the time, it didn't feel like a heavy request, but looking back, it's clear how much meaning it held. It wasn't about vanity, it was about connection. Elizabeth described feeling a wave of emotion as she finally shared the story. It was like revisiting a moment frozen in time, one filled with light, hope, and quiet strength. That request, that quiet wish may be why the dress still has such an impact today, because it wasn't just stitched with silk, it was stitched with intention. Years after the wedding, the dress was brought out from storage, and the public reaction? Immediate. Wherever it went, museum tours, royal exhibitions, historical showcases, crowds followed. People wanted to see it up close, not just in photos or old video clips, but in real life. To see every tiny detail, every fold, every pearl. For many visitors, it was more than a fashion piece. It was a memory, a bridge back to a moment they felt connected to, even if they weren't there. Some described getting emotional just standing near it. Others said it brought back feelings of hope, wonder, and admiration. Even people who hadn't been born in 1981 felt drawn to it, because the dress carried a kind of presence, as if it still held on to the spirit of the one who wore it. And maybe, in some way, it did. It's been over 40 years since that royal wedding, and yet, the dress still lives on. It continues to appear in documentaries, retrospectives, and style inspiration boards. Designers still talk about it. Young brides still reference it. Why? Because it captured more than just a moment. It captured a feeling. It represented the beginning of a new chapter. A story about grace under pressure, beauty with meaning, and kindness beneath the crown. Every time the dress is displayed, it brings with it a kind of reflection, a pause. A reminder of what it meant, not just to fashion, but to people. And perhaps that's why the dress has never faded into the background. Because it was never just a dress. It was a symbol of something greater. Sometimes a garment becomes more than just what it's made of. It becomes a story, a memory, a legacy. Diana's dress told the story of a young woman stepping into history with quiet strength and undeniable grace. And thanks to the words recently shared by her designer, we now know it also carried a personal hope, one that's finally being honored. So the next time you see a photo of that gown or catch a glimpse of it behind museum glass, remember this. It wasn't just meant to dazzle us. It was meant to speak to us. What do you think Diana was really trying to say through her dress? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, don't miss our next video. It dives into another unforgettable royal moment that changed everything. Make sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell, because there's so much more to explore. And we'd love to share it with you. Thanks for watching.